What I have here is a set your course for Alderaan deck, usually designed to, I don't know if I'd say usually, but often designed to try to blow up Alderaan and then maybe blow up a rebel base, or depending on the build, blow up Alderaan and then control a bunch of systems. There's a bunch of non-flip versions out there where you're not trying to blow up Alderaan, but you're trying to take advantage of the front side, which says that at Death Star sites, you can't force drain. However, your battle damage against you is canceled, so you can, you can deploy to a battleground site, occupy that for purposes of battle plan, and then you don't have to worry about having to pay for drains in space. And I have a couple bonuses for drains in space. The other thing I have in this deck is Dr. Evazan, who lets you place characters that have just been hit immediately in the loss pile, so they don't have to wait to be forfeited in the at the end of battle. And then his blaster, which fires repeatedly, so you can get off quite a few shots and hopefully hit a few people, make them go lost before they even get to do anything. And this is a pretty good matchup for me since, well, we'll see which sites he wants to use in a bit. But get some systems out. I put Krennic in the deck because the idea is to get the Death Star to a battleground system, and you can use Krennic to get cards out of your used pile or force pile. You can peek at the top two cards, take one into hand, so it's a nice way to make sure you're getting the cards you want. I've got a pretty good hand already for the things I want to do. I got Evazan and his blaster. I got two blasters in the deck, maybe four Evazans, and defensive fire, which is going to come in handy in just a bit. Turns out he wants to go to the Death Star, which is nice for me. So this is a really lucky matchup for me. If I have to go against something like Snow Speeders, I'm in big trouble. But here I get to fight on the Death Star and hopefully just win the war of attrition, in the sense of I kill a lot more characters than he does, is the goal now. So here comes Evazan. And I didn't get a blaster from the reserve deck. I was hoping to take one out of there in order to keep the one in my hand for later, because it's a low destiny anyways, so you might as well do that. So it must be at this point in my force pile or used pile. I'm going to go fishing for a card. Surface defense, that's going to allow me to add one to my battle destiny. I'm not battle destiny, weapon destiny. So if I miss by one with Dr. Evazan's blaster, then I can play that card and add one to it and get a hit instead of a miss. So it's a nice card if you miss by just one. I guess if you miss by one, you really tie their defense value. Panaka has a good chance of hurting me here because I can't take battle damage here, but if he hits me, which is pretty easy, I only have a defense value of 2. I got to lose 2 force just for having been hit. So he's going to be my primary target. I want to get him off the table before he has a chance to fire. And fortunately, I have defensive fire in hand, so I can start shooting at him before he has a chance to take the first firing action, which is what usually happens. And be able to hit Panaka right away. Counted as a 6 because defensive fire adds 2 to your first weapon destiny when you start firing repeatedly. And since I can fire repeatedly, I just keep going. And I don't want to get shot by that blaster. Plus, the other thing is, if I kill his guys with Dr. Evazan before they can fire, then the blaster, instead of going to the used pile with superficial damage, you can forfeit blasters to the used pile. Well, pretty much any weapon that isn't a lightsaber to the used pile. I'm able to get his blasters in the lost pile where they're hard to get back. And I'd like to hit Depa here, but Rey's is definitely the easier target. Fortunately, I get a 1/2 for Destiny. Maul's in the deck because he allows me to add one to a blaster destiny. And I'm going to use my last force to fire again. Last 2 force. So he plays there, tracking us to subtract 1, but I have surface defense, so I add 1, so I end up hitting it by 1 because the blaster adds 1. So that would have been a 5. He made it -1. We made a 4, which is a tie. And then surface defense, add 1 back to make it 5. So I'm able here to put the hurt on pretty good. Of course, I'm going to get swung at now. Draws a 1 for battle destiny, which is nice for me. It doesn't really matter. I can't take battle damage, and Depa has enough forfeit. All I need is a 1 because I believe she has no immunity. So I'm able to get a 1. But I get to forfeit my blaster to the use pile. Oh, I kind of forgot with Yoda. Yoda's hut, he can subtract 2 from attrition. So Depa survived. If I draw a 3, I guess I would have made her go lost. So Tarkin can draw on his own. I'm not going to take battle damage there, so I can absorb the force drain. There's cards he can play against me, like uh, sorry about the mess combo, but I have the canceller for that in hand and balance and Kinton Strider. So I'm trying to get another Evazan here. Got a lot of high destinies, but they're in my hand and not my deck, which is kind of a bummer. But I can put a 4 back and get a 0 out, so I'll do that anytime I can. And last card is an Evazan. So I'm probably going to get hit by a lot of guys here, but hopefully I can draw high enough to have him need to lose something. So some free force activation. Not that I have much to do with that force this turn, but it's going to be nice to have some extra next turn. So he's immune to attrition, at least his troopers are. There's only 1. So I'm going to lose 1 card here. We have to lose Tarkin. I played that 6 just to get it back in my deck. I already have the Gick in my hand, which I won't really need this game too much unless I need it in space because of the Death Star sets. I'm not taking battle damage. Tarkin's hit again. Not that that does much, but maybe he was hoping to draw some certain destinies, maybe take those cards into his hand. I draw another low destiny so he can reduce his attrition to 0 so he doesn't have to forfeit Depa again. So that was kind of 2 unlucky battle destinies in a row. But at least now I know that that blaster is going to be towards the bottom of my deck. So if I put my Dr. Evazan out, I won't have to worry about not being able to find his blaster. And I am subjecting those point mans to getting getting grabbed, but I'm trying to get some low destinies out of my deck and get the high destinies there so that when I have to pay 2 force to fire each weapon, it ends up being a higher chance of getting a hit. We can go after Deppa right away. I've got a few tricks, a lot of high destinies I've been putting back, and fortunately I'm able to hit her first. So 6+1 from the interrupt plus 1 from the weapon is a 7. Able to make her gone. So now he's not drawing a battle destiny. And I elect to battle him here because I want to outpower him and do a bunch of damage. It was very likely he was going to hit me. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to forfeit the when I forfeit Evazan, his blaster is going to have to go lost since there's no attrition or battle damage against me. Again, I draw just a 2, but he's got to lose quite a few cards here. So the clone. And I'm going to dump a Star Destroyer to go get another Evazan. Or one of my Evazans. And then he's got to top deck a few cards. So I'm up by 7 now, 7-ish. I know it's not exactly that many depending on how many cards there are on the table. I got to start going to space soon so I can get some drains in. And he's going to space too. So Lando there can't draw on his own, but I have to assume he has a Punch It in hand. That'd allow him to draw 2 Battle Destiny. Plus, I see one in the deck, so I know they're there. But does he want to have one in his hand? I'm sure he does, because else why else would he deploy out there? Still got that 0 in my deck, that Ozolf. Since I'm going to get hit with a Punch It, I put Emperor out there because the odds of him, getting more than 12 against me are pretty low. And I believe Punch It makes him immune to attrition, but if I blow him out of the sky, then that immunity won't matter. Plus, he's got a loser force if I hit him. Yeah, so let's check real quick. Punch It. Yeah, Starfighter's immune to attrition for remainder of turn. Now, can he draw more than 10? I should say more than 9. So this is a 6. Nope, it's not. So I only have to lose the Emperor. I can keep the gun. And since I can keep the gun later on, I'll have 3 free forfeit to work with. Probably should have played Coward earlier, but I don't want him to retrieve Lando if I can avoid it. Here come out a bunch of guys for him. Got a Luke and Vader battle. I'm not taking any battle damage. The question is, can he crack my immunity? And he can't. I'm immune division less than 5. He only draws a 4. So neither I nor him have drawn high battle destinies. We're both immune, so that nothing really happens there other than him spending a force to have initiated. I'm able to drain for free there for 2. I see that there's a Dr. Evazan's Blaster in my deck, which is awesome. I could have activated, so it was nice to see it in my deck. I guess the odds were for me that it would have been there. I haven't grabbed one of his interrupts yet. He's played Rebel Ambush twice, but I'm really not concerned about immunity of attrition since I'm going to hit so many things. Got to make sure I get the weapon guy first. And now to hit Anakin, I got to draw 5. And I got 3 more shots to do it. That's not going to do it. Be nice to have him on the table at this point. Missed again. I got one more chance. Some high destinies in the deck. There's some low destinies in the deck. And I am able to get him. So he loses 3 cards. And the battle's over. And because he has nobody left, I can't just like battle damage him if he has nobody there. So pretty well ahead at this point. And a lot of that has to do with the matchup. That's the very nice thing about this deck is that, yeah, you don't have to worry about getting overflowed on the Death Star. So you can just put your guys right in front of where they're going to drain you. And if they want to battle you, it usually works out better for you. So he's going to add a Battle Destiny here. I'm not really sure why he did that. Maybe he knows it's kind of an uphill battle because it's... Ooh, then he draws a 0. And that was a bit of a mistake on his part because he has the force to go deploy that. He could have deployed that site using the Camino text, but he didn't. But it ended up not mattering because I was going to have to forfeit all these guys anyways. And I actually draw high enough where he's going to have to lose a card. But unfortunately, in this case, he reduces the attrition with Yoda's hot, I should say. And then he only has to send the weapon used. So that battle went really well for him, other than playing an interrupt that really didn't help him. So he's got a low destiny. So now, if I can draw something kind of high, I can actually make him lose some cards. I do. But Luke forces me to redraw. So I was excited to get that 7. And I remember that Luke force you to redraw, but I win the battle by a few, make him lose a few force anyways. He elects to get rid of the Jedi Master, make him go out of play, which is nice for me because I hate that redraw text on Luke when I'm playing against him. So now I got to make sure I block his drain over at the docking control room or docking, I'm not sure what that's called, hangar 327. Okay. We'll get another Star Destroyer out. And Krennic isn't going to do me much good, so he can just block the drain for a turn. I'm looking for another Evazan here. I got a defensive fire back. So getting a lot of cards in my hand. Finally get that 0 out of my deck. but no Evazan. I've lost a few already, of course. So if he can't kill me at both sites, I'm going to be drawn for free. Draining for free, I should say. And the big question here is, can I choke? Can I choke one of those clones? Activate some free force. And that's kind of a big deal because I want a point man on this turn to get an Evazan, hopefully for my force pile. I got 2 more in the deck. There's 5 cards in my force pile now, 17 in the deck, so the odds aren't great, but I have a chance since there's 2 more in the deck. He's going to grab that 6. He doesn't want me putting that back. And now I see, okay, well, as long as it wasn't that 1 card. Oh, he's going to move over for me. So he didn't want to battle there, which honestly makes sense. Kind of forgot how that went down. So now he's got 3 clones there. Question is, can I get the Evazan? So I'm giving him a 3rd point man, but yep, there's an Evazan there. So the 1 card I played, or used the 1 card I used to go get the Gick that wasn't there ends up being not the Evazan. So that was nice to see. He's got clones out now, so I'm only drained for 1 there. Some high destinies, got tons of force. Guess I didn't need to deploy Ozil there, but I changed my mind about who was going where. And the goal now is to get my Evazan's Blaster since I activated it. But I'm going to play another point man because I know the Blaster's got to be there. And there it is. So I'm guessing with Kit Fisto, he put a high destiny back. I got 2 Imperial Artilleries in my hand. He's already used all of his grabbers. He's keeping that 0 in his deck, man. Maybe it's because he needs the force. I'm not sure, or maybe he doesn't really care if he draws it or not, or maybe he's just forgetting. I finally grab Rebel Ambush because I figure at this point, might as well just make him have to spend the card. And I do choke one of the Blaster clones. And I can't remember what exactly his text says. It's something to do with canceling battle destinies. Or 2 of your clones. So yeah, that's a big deal because now I can avoid, I don't have to take any battle damage. So he didn't hit me. He only got 1 shot at me. And if he doesn't draw higher than a 5, then he will not be able to, I shouldn't say, if he doesn't draw higher than a 4, and he draws exactly 4. So Vader lives to fight another day. I have to wonder if he, if you went down and activated it all except for 2, maybe he could have fired the weapon, and then whatever card he put on the bottom with Kit Fisto, he could have done that. So he doesn't have to lose anything. Neither do I. But I was able to choke a clone. And I'm going to place that under my reserve deck. And since I have laser cannon battery out, I'm making him lose a force. Get a couple decent drains in. And I know my bottom card reserve deck's a 7, so I could have gone after a Kit Fisto, but killing clones is better. There's a lot of counters to Evazan. I mean, there's an effect you can play that makes his text, instead of making them go lost, he essentially makes him forfeit 0. But at this point, instead of shooting again, I know I'm going to get a 7, so I'm just going to outpower him here. I can make it an 8 with Maul. And he concedes because I don't think he has the Hujik. So really, really good matchup for me. I've played it before in other contexts, and it doesn't work so good. It works okay against Jedi Masters because there's a couple cards that add to your destiny, and there's a few 7s and 6s in the deck. It really, really stinks against Snow Speeders, though. So, yeah, worst matchup would be Snow Speeders that I've come across, or that at least I could imagine. I can't remember if I played it against Snow Speeders yet, but if you're playing against characters, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to hit a lot of guys and make them lose more than you end up losing. So that is the Dr. Evazan on the Death Star deck. Hope you enjoyed this video and that you tune in for future deck videos and or my pack opening videos on my channel. Thanks for watching.